I'm Krystal Arthur, and I'm your host for the Divine Desire podcast. This podcast is to gift you the sexy, spiritual, sovereign, and specific wisdom to help you find and follow your desire into the magical relationships, business, and life that serves the world and excites your soul. I have been studying and coaching in spirituality, wellness, business, and desire professionally for nearly 15 years. I've been on a journey from being a pastor's wife, mother, and seminary student riddled with depression and anxiety with a toxic marriage, to training in holistic health, hypnotherapy, practicing a tantric approach to sex, love, and relationships, having 5 kids, and a sexy, sovereign, and sacred union of 11 years. I've searched heaven and hell to discover the wellness, woo, and taboo paths and practitioners to help us remember the wholeness and truth, goodness, and beauty within. And I can't wait to share them with you. Do you have a divine desire to heal and reclaim your relationship with yourself, your power, purpose, pleasure, prosperity, and your partner? Do you have an inner knowing of a calling, but fear holding you back from honoring the truest part of yourself? What lights you up? You're in the right place. Some guests may stretch or challenge you. Some guests will help unlock your next level of evolution. My intention is that every conversation is a catalyst to you owning yourself and manifesting your truest desires. This is the space to remind us we are infinite and our desires are the roadmap to our dreams. Here you'll find the inspiration and implementation to go from doing your inner work to being and sharing the work of art that you are. Hello. I am here with Nonna Lotus, and we are at the Abundant Lotus, and I'm super excited to be here. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Me come.
Exciting.
Okay, this is really cool. So I was just talking to her because we're just getting to know each other for the first time. Nonna goes by another name as well in her day job. And that is Carolyn. And she also has a real estate business. But this, where we are today, is at the Abundant Lotus. They've been open for a couple years, and it is a beautiful crystal shop with, more than just crystals. I'll let you share what all you have in the shop and what all you guys do here, because it's so much more than just a local shop. It's like you've built a community.
Right.
And that's what I think is so cool. So, I'd love to just start off with you because I started asking you and then I stopped you because I was like, no. This story needs to be shared.
Right.
So share with me, what's your vision for the Abundant Lotus? What's your mission in the community?
Well, I'll back up just a step and say this all really started with a dream. Mm-hmm. So I knew there was something new coming. I knew there was some new phase. I could feel it. I had all the signs, and I was frustrated that I couldn't get the answer. Mm-hmm. And one day in my frustration, I'm like, fine, I'm just going to go sit down and play with my iPad. And that's what I did until I fell asleep. And I dozed off. And during that time, I had a dream. And the dream was that I was going to open a metaphysical shop in Florissant. Now, this was actually quite comical because I know nothing about retail. I knew plenty about crystals, but nothing about retail. And the message behind it was, it's not about what you're going to sell here. It's about the people who will gather here. Mm. So within a matter of a couple of days, actually that same day, I looked up and I found this building, which as a realtor, my other job, I had kind of seen before. And it immediately sparked up with me with, that's probably the one. And then like a day later, I came to see it and knew the moment I walked into the space that had no floors, no roof, nothing, no walls. It was a mess. And knew that it was the right space. And then we made the offer. And within a couple of weeks, we purchased this building and started their renovation. So, at that point, after that dream, it was all just following where I felt that I was led, even though at times it was a little bit scary and it didn't make sense.
That's so good. Okay, I'm just checking this really quick. Okay, cool. Looks like good. Can you say something?
Yes, sure can.
Okay, awesome.
Okay,
like I didn't test that out. I tested mine, but not yours. Okay, so tell me about when it felt kind of scary. What part of it was scary? Was it like the financial investment, or was it just putting yourself out there in the community, like as a metaphysical shop owner?
It was always scary. Every step of the way it was scary. So, I'm not just a realtor. I've owned a real estate company, and I've owned a real estate building with agents. And so I understood the business side of this. But it's always scary when you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to figure out how do you make this at least pay for itself in the beginning? How much are you taking away from your family in this? What kind of financial dangers are you putting them in? Luckily, I have a perfect partner. My wife is great, and we balance each other well. So combined, we usually can make the right decisions. And when I go crazy on things like this, she just like holds on tight and says, okay, I say it's right. It's what the universe says we're supposed to do. So every part of it is scary. Finding money is always hard. So the finances of it, of how do we pay for this and how do we do this and how do we do this, is always I don't want to say the scary part. It's not really scary. It's just like how. And the universe has just totally, universe, God, whatever you want to call it, whatever word you use for that, is just continue to provide unexpected ways to bring finances in that have helped us maintain our life and build this place.
That's so lovely.
Yeah.
I just really love that. So talk to me about what is a metaphysical shop? I was like, a crystal shop. And it's so much more than that.
Yeah. So a lot of people, you say metaphysical and they have no idea. Then you kind of break it down. Well, we sell crystals and we sell incense. And so people kind of get that kind of bohemian hippie vibe when you start saying that. But I think that some people think of it as witchy. And I think that brings that unknown, that confusion brings in some fear. And, when you're working with herbs and that and crystals to create a feeling or a protection or whatever, this is the same thing we do with anything, right? I mean, you go and you eat this meat because it has this vitamin that your body needs. Well, it's the same thing with I grow this herb to cook with this herb or to burn this herb or to have this crystal so a metaphysical shop is just a place where you can find natural remedies and systems to enhance your life. And that might be something herbal. That might be something that's an aromatherapy. It might be something that's a crystal. And we even go as far as to books to teach you more about it, and even tarot and oracle cards, which, again, some people think are very witchy. And really, they're not. I mean, if you pray and you seek guidance or an answer to a question, and you wait for a bird to fly by and give you that answer, tarot and oracle cards are the same way. You're not conjuring up anything special. You're just shuffling the cards, saying, I need an answer, and then turning the card and seeing, what kind of message it is giving to you. So that's kind of what a metaphysical is, like all of those things.
Yeah. Just like seeking answers, like from within, from the source that you're trusting in. So where you said that some people have like fear associated with some of these things, did you ever have fear associated with them? How did you come into the metaphysical space yourself?
That's interesting. I was raised, I think I have to go back to some of my spiritual beliefs. I was raised Catholic. At one point, I stepped into a more born-again, spirit-filled life, and I feel like that's the one that most resonated with me or most made me feel connected to God, my higher power or whatever. And during that time, I was with a group that was really narrow-visioned. And so I would say if there was a time that I thought that this was evil or scary or the devil, that was probably that time. But as I got older, I mean, I was pretty young then. So as I got older and then I came into myself, I realized that everything here is created by Source or God or Mother Nature, or however you want to label that. It's all created here for us. And we just need to find a way to use it that enhances our lives while loving and caring for others around us. So maybe only briefly was it really a concern of mine. There are still certain things I stay away from that, maybe still make me a little uncomfortable. But when you see all the natural healing that comes with all of these natural things that clearly are created by something greater than I, what's to fear?
Yeah, that's been my experience as well. Like, I was very, very afraid. And I thought anything outside of exactly what, my church taught or I learned in Bible college or anything outside of like fundamental evangelical Christianity, because I can't say outside the Bible, right? Because a lot of this is in the Bible, casting lots and what is it? Where he like separates the, okay, I'm gonna, I used to be able to talk about this more easily, but like, looking at the stars and finding the way to Jesus. And there's so much that's in the Bible, the crystals that are in the priest's, clothing, and so much beauty, so much numerology, so much symbology, all right there. And so I can't say it's not biblical, right. But it wasn't how I was taught. And I was literally taught the opposite. These things used today are always from the devil. It's always, if they get a word, it's from a demon. It's, it's so fear-based. And so that was definitely, it was very scary for me. I wouldn't have stepped foot into a shop, a metaphysical shop. But then like in my own experience, being like finding so much healing and peace in more metaphysical spaces and practices, and really kind of coming to the same conclusion that you just shared. Like, it's all from God. It's all from the universe. Like, so do we as humans sometimes use or abuse what the good gifts that Mother Earth has given us to bring imbalance or to try to harm one another? Yeah. And I've seen that plenty in every space. I've seen that in the church and outside the church. Because most of my experiences have taken place in the church, I've seen that mostly in the church. So it happens, right? We as humans can choose to abuse that. But to me, personally, in my experience, that comes more from believing that we're separate from one another. That comes more from being afraid and then now feeling like I need to protect mine. I need to protect me and mine. And that often looks like attacking to protect and guard and keep. I feel like that comes more from that energy and that belief system in any religion, and in any belief system, that belief in separation and having to guard and protect and defend is more dangerous than any tool or technology. And that's really like how, like you said, like systems. I see these systems as like ancient technologies, right? That have been around for hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of years that we've lost touch with. And I don't know why, I'm not going to go into like why I think we might, but like we've lost touch with these things and to me, it's like, I love that you've created this space because I don't think it existed in the Florissant, St. Louis, North County area. I'm not familiar with other.
I've been told that there was once a metaphysical shop somewhere on Lindbergh many, many years ago.
Yeah.
But we've lived here for almost 10 years now. And so we didn't know of one until this opened.
I think it's such a service and such a gift to the community.
If you're ready to heal your relationship with yourself and your partner, deepen your impact in the wellness or spiritual space, and reclaim your power and pleasure, you'll want to join our online community and newsletter. Newsletter sounds boring, but it's totally free and will ensure you don't miss a single transmission. Likewise, the community is an additional free space to remind us our desires are the roadmap to our dreams. Our community and newsletter dive deep into the challenges of balancing intimacy, personal growth, and building a purpose-driven business. You'll get exclusive insights from our podcast, along with tools and resources for things like embodying the power couple dynamic, where your business and relationship fuel each other, integrating fear and imposter syndrome in launching and growing a spiritual or taboo business, reclaiming power and pleasure, yet alchemizing shame and criticism. It's in community that you'll find the initiations and inspirations that will pave your path towards embodying your full potential. Joining the community will automatically add you to the email list. Again, it's totally free, and it's the #1 way to support the podcast. Simply go to KrystalArthur.com or click the link in the show notes. That's my name, KrystalArthur.com, or find the link in the show notes. Join us today and step into the true power of who you are, both in your relationship and in your business.
Yeah, because we need more spaces that are inviting and inclusive of more thought systems, where people can gather together and be like-minded and feel welcomed.
Right.
And I'm sure everyone that comes into your shop or into your network, they don't believe exactly the same thing and practice in exactly the same way. So just to have a space that just prioritizes healing and connection is really beautiful. So,
we found a little bit too over time that, I continue to develop and change and educate myself. And so I started reading this book, and this book was so inspirational to me. I would just buy a couple dozen of them at a time, and we sell them. Sometimes we give them away, whatever. But the book is all about raising your vibration. And what occurred to me as I was reading this, I grew up in South St. Louis. So I didn't know anything even existed after you crossed 70. Like, I didn't know there was more stuff back here. So North County has such a negative, people look at North County so negatively that I feel that it just has continued to push down the vibration of the people of this area, because we constantly hear we're bad, we're dangerous, we're this, we're that, or we're the other. It wasn't until I moved here and got an opportunity to see the beautiful people and to have relationships with my neighbors and with the businesses and the stores and that around us, that I realized part of what we were lacking. So I look at the Abundant Lotus as being a light in the middle of this sludge that has been thrown over us, to kind of help raise people up and give them a place to come raise their vibration as well, so that we as a community can be okay with who we are, our geography of where we are, and there's nothing wrong with our area. It's really a nice space. So it's been nice to kind of be a catalyst for some other growth that's happening in our area.
Yes. Just testing.
Okay.
Yes. And what I love about what you just said, that was perfect. It's literally, I was just teaching this to my kids, like on the way to school on Monday. You didn't say, I see the Abundant Lotus as a light in this darkness or in this dark neighborhood or this dark side of town, which that is a stigma. And it's so interesting, because I'm like, I don't know if I should say that on the podcast. We're in a part of the St. Louis area that has internationally been renowned as, oh my goodness, that happened there. And it's like, oh, but I live like within walking distance of a horse farm. There's wonderful parades. There's, a beautiful organic farm. Like this area is lovely and beautiful. What I identified that you said was the sludge that's been put over the beauty. And that is fundamentally a different worldview than what so many of us are raised with and taught. When we're taught that things are inherently evil or inherently sinful and just depraved, that does impact how we look at one another.
Sure.
And how we look at behaviors. It's not about the behavior, not about maybe a belief that you are lacking or limited or evil, but a forgetting.
Right.
And so we pile on more sludge instead of saying, hey, let me help you remember. Let me remind you of who you are, of who we are. And that is being a light in a place that's covered in sludge.
Right. That's right.
That is just so, I loved how you said that. You just, and that speaks to me, that speaks to the truth of who you are. That like, that's just naturally how you talk about things. And that's naturally how you view the world around you. I would love to go into more, you at the Abundant Lotus, not only do you sell metaphysical systems and technology and crystals and tools, but you guys also like host events. You have your bingo night, which isn't necessarily here because it's outgrown the space, which is really cool. So I would definitely want to talk about that. But I want to go back to, you said the healing that you've seen just made it undeniable. So like, I'd love for you to share about the readings and about the healing that takes place as well, how you make space for that too.
So we do a couple things. We offer divination. So we have readings that happen here, as well as Reiki that happens here, as well as we just added a masseuse for in January. So we now have massage services as well as we just added yoga. So we have yoga Thursdays here as well. We're a small space. So, so we keep it pretty tight. You got to make a reservation because our space sells out pretty fast. But these were all things that different people in the area were asking for or saying they needed. Most of our readers, Reiki, masseuse, yoga people all live within this community. At the very beginning, I'll say on a side, we also offered people in the community, if they had something they made and they sold, bring it in, we'll sell it for you. And so we have kind of a little consignment thing. It's not a ton, but we want to support other people as they're starting their business. And then lastly, there's the classes. There's education is the key. And so if there's something that you're afraid of, to really just sit down and see it and hear it is an opportunity maybe to understand it at a level that maybe it can be a part of your life. So we try to listen to what our customers are telling us they need. But we have a 101 series of classes that teach you about using candles or herbs or crystals in your daily life. We have more advanced classes like awakening your intuition. If you want to understand your intuition a little more, if you want to understand Reiki. And, Reiki is not something that I'm going to go take a Reiki class so that I can go make money doing Reiki. Reiki, especially at its infant level, when you're doing it, is really all about healing yourself and grounding yourself. So even if you go no further than that, the service that you do just learning how to ground yourself in this world that is just totally off the chain some days, is great. And so as these classes have happened, and I know there's many that I'm not mentioning, and so I'm sure I'm forgetting something important, but in what's happening, then you see some of the same people coming back. And then what you see is these friendships forming between them. And that's where the community starts. People who have come in who are lonely, who don't have anyone, who this is a part of their life, but their family doesn't accept it. So they have no one that they can talk to about it. People who want to go to a class like this, but they're afraid to go alone. They need a buddy to go with. These friendships have just formed that have been really beautiful. And I mean, even friendships with us. We've made friends of some of our customers and regulars here as well. So it's that now when they're on the street, they know each other. And so it's just this kind of growing of this like love that's just, okay, well, it was here. And now it's here. And now there's like these 10 people who kind of know each other and they're kind of vibing the same way. And then they're vibing the same way. And then it just kind of spreads out to the community, even to people who never set foot. in our shop. I hope that answered your question.
It totally does. And I love that. No, it's perfect, because I've spoken to personally so many people who are looking for exactly what you just described. Like when people don't fit perfectly into the box of different denominations or different churches or different communities that are more conservative and established in that way, maybe, and many of us, especially I think in the Midwest and in the St. Louis area, coming from the church or coming from ministry, but still having that desire to connect to the divine, still having that desire to connect to God, to spirit, to source. But now, like I have friends who, they have a panic attack when they step foot inside of a church. It's not that they don't want that connection or that community, but it's, how does it look now? And where do I go to learn more about, like, starting off with, when you say healing yourself, I hear loving yourself, loving every part of yourself, loving the parts that hurt, loving the parts that are still angry, loving the parts that want to forgive and don't want to forgive, like, loving all of yourself. And then allowing space for that healing to take place. How do you, this is such a service, especially at a time like this when so many people are, I've heard of people, there's so many people deconstructing from the church, but also there's a lot of people who were always atheists or always secular, and now they're desiring to have a spirituality, to have more of a connection to life and to one another. So that's just really, really beautiful. Let's talk about, I'd love for you to go more into, because you said education is a key piece. So what are maybe one or two topics that people being more educated on would be beneficial to their lives or to the community?
Okay. Take your time. That's a lot. So, I think, to me, one of the things that I tell people who come into the shop often is they're seeking some refuge from something, is your intuition. So I think, I don't know if that's an education or if that's a trust. What is your gut telling you? Pay attention to that. It's telling you that for a reason. And be still and listen to that. If there was something I told you had to learn, you absolutely have to learn this to be successful, it would be to meditate. And meditate isn't this scary, I'm going to sit in the lotus position and I'm going to put up my hands and I'm going to chant. It doesn't have to be that, right? It's just being in the quiet and listening to the sounds of nature around you. Letting your mind be still, because we're so inundated with technology, right? We've got our music coming at us, our phones coming at us, our watches beeping at us at the same time. We can Google anything on the computer. Alexa starts talking to us for no reason at all. She'll just start saying things. And so all of this information is coming into you and you don't get an opportunity to really just think for yourself or feel for yourself. Instead, just like disconnect, breathe, and just hear the wind blowing through the leaves in the tree. Take your shoes off, put your bare feet in the ground, and just ground yourself and just be. So I think that's the biggest thing to learn. And then I think the second thing that comes with that is this isn't like, I'm a great pianist or a great guitarist or a great actor or a great this. All of these tools that we're talking about with these herbs and divination and all that, everybody has these tools. Every single person has them at the same level. All you got to do is choose which ones to develop. So trust your intuition. Nobody knows more than you. Just trust your intuition and it'll be good. And so when people come in and they're looking for crystals and they're saying, which one is going to make me feel like this? None of them. None of them are going to make you feel like that, right? Like, don't come in here thinking you're going to spend $3 on a crystal and it's going to change your life. It's not. The crystal does have benefits to you, but it's also about the sight of it, the reminder of it, the feel of it. It's not just its vibration. there's more to it that you just absorb into your life. But just buying a rock is not going to make your life better.
That was a whole word. That was a whole word. You said none of them. That's so true.
None, right.
And it goes back to us outsourcing our power and outsourcing our peace.
Right.
Things can support us and be reminders, but that's it. That's it. Mm-hmm. Reminding you of what's already within you, right, of who you actually are under the sludge. Mm-hmm. And I didn't go back going back to like when I was talking to my kids, it was a cloudy day. And I was like, is the sun out? Is it a sunny day? And they were like, no, it's cloudy. And they were super confident. I was like, are you sure about that? Because that's something they say. Are you sure about that? Mm-hmm. I was like, are you sure about that? So because if we are in this exact same place on earth, but we have a higher perspective, we'll see the sun still shining. Mm-hmm. From our perspective, it's just covered by clouds. Right. So we can label the day as a cloudy day. It's not untrue. Mm-hmm. We don't need to bypass the fact that we see clouds. Mm-hmm. We can see clouds. And we can still remember, even while we're admitting, yes, we see clouds and it's totally okay. Nothing wrong with seeing clouds. Mm-hmm. We can remember that the sun is still shining. It's always shining. And that's how we give people a miracle. Mm-hmm. Is by always remembering that we're always the sun, even when we're feeling cloudy, mm-hmm, and that they're always the sun, even when all they're showing us is their clouds. Mm-hmm. Right. And so that's if they take nothing else from like their childhood, that's what I hope they take from like my parenting is like, you are the sun. Right. Like we're all fractals of light. Like, so yeah, no, this is good. I'm loving this right now. I'm loving this so much. I don't even know where I want to go. I feel like this has already been such a blessing to me and hopefully to anybody who's like with us. Okay, I'm going to check my questions because I'm just feeling. I feel like we've already kind of.
Yes.
Open that in.
I don't know. I feel like we've already kind of covered a lot of these. Like what's a myth about you? Or something people understand about what you do? What's your greatest accomplishment or memory? Greatest challenge? I do have something that I think of. On that note, on the topic of like it's really all within. I can imagine some people would say, then why divine? Why the divination? Isn't that outsourcing? Isn't that looking for an answer outside of yourself?
No. I mean, while we have the answers inside of ourselves, we do rely on seeing signs for confirmation because we don't trust ourselves. Right? We don't trust. Let's, talk about seeing the cardinal, right? It's supposed to represent someone who has passed is there. Finding a dime on the floor is supposed to represent someone who's passed is there. Is that person dropping dimes in front of us? Probably not, right? But we use that as a tool of remembrance for those who have passed before us. So when these signs come of it's an odd bird that's flown overhead, sometimes it's really just nature stepping in with a simple reminder of get your head out of and pay attention. I'm trying to tell you something here. I'm trying to help you. You keep praying and asking me for guidance on this. And I'm giving you all this guidance, this bird, that frog, this rock, that person. I'm giving you the guidance and you're ignoring it because you're looking for it in a traditional way. And that's not what's going to happen. And the heavens aren't going to open and I'm not going to speak bellowing words to you. Instead, I'm going to send you these gentle signs as reminders of where you need to be. So if you realize that we are all connected and we are all vibration, right? Everything, every bird, every frog, every one of us are connected. Like the movie Avatar is really a great example of this, right? The trees, the birds, Everything is connected. So now if you apply that to us in our lives and say, when something hurts me, you can feel the ripple of that. And that's what happens in communities, right? Something happened to this person in this community, and we all feel that pain, right, of that. So these birds and that, this is just a connection of us. It's not reaching out for something else. All of this is part of us. We're all connected. So this is just my eye turning this way and saying, oh yeah, that's a reminder to me, or that's a confirmation to me that I'm on the right path here.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I just wanted to tie that in because I was thinking about things that, people misunderstand.
Sure.
And that would have been a question that I had before. That was a question that I had before was, well, why would I go to these cards, or why would I go to get a reading, or isn't that still me kind of putting someone else or something else like in authority over which way I should go or the choices that I should make? And it was like a fundamental shift to exactly what you just said. It's like, and there was also some confusion for me with how can we be individuals but also all one? Like, where's the uniqueness? Where's the like that didn't make sense to me. But yeah, it's like that connection piece. Like, we're all one. Like, the forest is all one, but there's many animals and plants and microorganisms and stuff going on, and it's all connected and interconnected. So we're all a piece of the whole, and we're all connected, and yet we're all have the fullness of life in us. So we don't have to, we're not reliant upon things outside of us, but boy, can they be helpful.
Sure.
Boy, can they be supportive and useful in helping us to remember who we are and stay in that, I'm going to say on the right track, but I really mean like stay within like balance with like all of life.
Well, and think about a tree. A tree is really a great example of it, right? Because there's some below and there's some above the ground, right? And all of these pieces of the tree have different things that they need to do. The roots need to get down into the dirt, right, so that they can get some water to nourish us. The bark of the tree, the branches of the tree, the leaves of the tree, the leaves have to shed off at some point of the tree so that they can grow back again as the tree's growing. But then it's not just the tree and the roots, right? It's the dirt around the tree. So now, and it's the water that's seeping into the ground by the tree, and it's the bugs that are aerating the ground beneath the tree. So the tree doesn't grow just by itself. The tree grows because of all of the things that are surrounding it. Yes. And I want to circle back just one quick thing too, to say you can read books or take classes on all of these things. It's all great. But you have to always go back to, what does my intuition tell me? So now that maybe someone listening to this says, hey, I don't really know about those cards. I don't know if I should try those cards or not. What does your intuition tell you? If your intuition tells you, yeah, this is something you need to try, then do it. And if your intuition tells you this isn't for me right now, don't do it. There's no right way to do it. It's follow your unique individual intuition on what you're supposed to do next.
I completely agree with that, because I think that if I read some books earlier on in like my journey that I was like, man, that resonates, and I can't do that. Like, I can't have an altar. Like, I can't touch tarot cards. Like, I can't touch a deck. Like, and it's like that. I'm hearing this, that this makes sense. It even resonates with me. But like, I feel like if I would have gone there at that point, I still had so much conditioning and fear that I might have had a challenging experience because of like the level of my vibration at that time. Like, I would have brought fear into my practice and guilt. And then it might take me longer to come back around to it. But about time I did come back around to different tools and practices, it just made sense. And there wasn't room for fear. And it was only a blessing and only affirming. And so I think there's so much wisdom in what you just shared, and that, which is hilarious, because we were talking about how some people perceive some of these things as like witchy, but even like the etymology of like witch is like wise woman.
Right.
It's just using the wisdom of nature in order to bless and help.
Absolutely.
And so there's so much wisdom in that. Like if it doesn't resonate with you, if your intuition is telling you different, don't bother. It's not for you then, at least not in this season.
Right.
Yeah. Which is a lot to be said from someone who owns a metaphysical.
Right.
And it's so like you've seen it help and heal and be of use, and still not everything it's just like any medicine, right? It's not prescribed the same to everybody, and not every medicine is for everyone. So,
and we are all at different points in our life. So if I want you to accept what it is that I hold dear or that I use in my tea mixes and whatever it is that I do for my own health, then I have to also allow you to have the opinion that you have, which is tarot cards is something that, and tarot cards, I do want to say they have a stigma about them because people do think that tarot cards are so witchy. And so there are other cards. There are also oracle cards, which are a much more intuitive, a much more gentle kind of a card. And I think whenever we get into something has this set of rules that always has to be the same, which is kind of how a tarot deck is. Every card in every deck, the Four of Cups means the same in every single deck. Doesn't matter. When you get to those kind of rules, it must be this. I think that's where people recoil. And so when I say use your intuition, two ways. You have oracle cards, right, that are more intuitive, but also tarot cards, they can be read in an intuitive way. What does the color say to me? What does the picture on the card say to me? I don't care what the book says. I might reference the book later, but I'm just going to pull that card, and that can just as easily be a playing card. Just a regular deck of hearts and clubs and spades, right? I can pull that card and look at it and say, you know what that message says to me is this. 8 means this to me, and so now that I see this 8 of hearts, it tells me infinite love. That's what I see in that card, and then you go, because you've used your intuition. And you can read marbles, and you can read charms, and you can read, there's something called bones, which is really just a collection of maybe rings, stones, rocks, sticks that you throw on the table, and what do they mean to you? So it doesn't have to be that witchy connotation that goes with tarot. It's not at all.
This is for conscious couples, coaches, and catalysts of spiritual and wellness businesses who feel like imposters in their business because their relationships are draining or toxic. Do you feel like your marriage or relationship is hanging by a thread, constantly fighting with your partner and worried about how it's affecting your kids, your energy, and your business? Maybe you've tried everything. New diets, another self-help book, another certification, all in an effort to fix yourself, your partner, your family. And yet here you are, burnt out, exhausted, and still feeling like something's missing. I'm Krystal Arthur, and I've been exactly where you are. I've been married for 11 years, and most of those we were in spiritual leadership, preaching heaven while living in hell, both as individuals and as a couple. We lived through rage, anxiety, depression, and caused trauma to our 5 children. We followed all the conventional advice, confided in mentors, and went to the marriage retreats year after year. The message was always the same: behave better, resist your desires, submit, and obey the rules. But here's the truth. The real transformation happens when you stop trying to fix yourself and everyone else and start accepting and loving yourself unconditionally. The secret is in reclaiming your power and discovering where you're holding yourself back from intimacy, aliveness, and your truest desires, both in your relationship and in your business. As a wellness or spiritual entrepreneur or leader, you feel like you should have the answers, the spiritual perspective, the clarity to navigate and balance it all. But when your marriage is falling apart and you're starting to feel like a hypocrite in your own business, it can feel impossible to find a way forward. I've lived that disconnection, the feeling of hopelessness and the heartbreak of wondering if divorce is the only answer. Through my coaching, I guide individuals and couples to uncover their deepest desire and finally start to build the life, relationship, and business they're meant for. You'll learn to heal from within, letting go of the constant need to fix, and create a relationship where you and your partner become the power couple you've always dreamed of, full of purpose, passion, and potential. In this 6-month container, together we will create a field of safety, sacred sovereignty, love, and sensual empowerment that will elicit a remembrance in you of who you are and what you're capable of. It will transmute the energy of doubt, lack, shame, and resentment, and resurrect in you the capacity to have a thriving relationship with your pleasure, purpose, power, and partner. With this truth anchored and embodied, you will see your sovereign vision begin to manifest and experience the fullness of your magic. This is by far my most powerful offering. To learn more and schedule a free 1-hour clarity call, go to KrystalArthur.com or click the link in the show notes. This is a virtual offering. I'm on a mission to see as many individuals and couples come alive to their power, purpose, prosperity, and pleasure as possible. Again, that's my name, KrystalArthur.com, or find the link in the show notes of this episode.
Yeah, what's so interesting is we all do it all the time.
Yeah.
We do it in so many different ways. Like,
Sure.
oh, I heard this song on the radio, and I think that was from, my grandpa, or just so many different ways. And I think we're designed that way. It actually says in the Bible that that we have nature it's Romans 1. It talks about how nature points back to that there is a creator. That we are all one, that there is a source for all this beauty and all this truth and all this goodness in the world. And it's not there's this book that points to it, or there's a specific doctrine that points to it. It's you can look at the stars, you can look at nature, and it speaks for itself.
Absolutely.
And you talked about meditation earlier, and even now we're talking about divination, but listening to your intuition through these tools and technologies. And I actually came across that first in seminary, where it was I was taught very rigid. This is exactly how you read the Bible. This is hermeneutics. It's a very strict system, similar almost to what you're saying about tarot. There's a right way and there's a wrong way. There is one interpretation, and that's it. And anything outside of that is not it. It is wrong. And I get to the seminary level, and they're oh, you can there's something called listening prayer. You can listen. You don't just talk. Right. When you listen to that still small voice. Well, where do you hear that still small voice? It's generally not audible. It's on the inside. But how do you trust that still small voice if you don't trust yourself and you think everything that comes from within you is of you only, of the little you? Right. The crystal that is made up of what mom thinks of me and dad thinks of me and my friends think of me, and my role as a mother and my role as a wife. If you're not trusting that you have that connection to source, if you don't trust yourself, then you can't listen to that still small voice. So this has been good.
Good.
Is there any question that I didn't ask that you would love for me to have asked?
No, I think that you pretty much covered it all. You never know what the next thing is. Tomorrow I'll say, oh, we should have talked about, but, you asked about bingo.
Yes.
I will mention bingo. Bingo is just a fun thing. It is bingo. It's bingo cards that have crystals on them, crystal names on them. And we had to start running a haul just because we had so many. And the prizes are crystals from our shop, and we have things you can shop for while you're there. And we have great attendance prizes. And we used to do it every month and every other month, and it just got so big and too much work. My wife and I are both 60 plus, and so doing this was just a lot for us. But what we do is we call out crystal names during the event. And then you get on the screen behind us a picture of the crystal, and it tells you a little bit about it. So it's kind of a fun way to, it's like trivia night. Everybody brings their own food, their own drinks, and they hang out, they have a party, and you get to learn a little bit about crystals in the process, maybe win a Reiki session or a massage or attendance at one of our classes.
That is so fun.
So it's a lot of fun. We have not done our first one in 2024 yet. We're still trying to figure out the dates. A location is really hard. It's kind of a moving target. And because we are a metaphysical shop, there's a lot of pushback of, well, you can't come and use my church hall then maybe for this. We don't feel totally comfortable with you. So we have limited options. And so we've moved location. We've only done it in the same place maybe once. So we're trying to figure out what that's going to look like this year.
Oh, I can't wait. I'll be looking out. I'll be looking out for it because I've seen it and I'm like, man, that looks cool. But now that I know what the extent of it, I got to put that on the calendar.
Oh, yeah. We sing songs. We have a great time.
Oh, my goodness.
It's great.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I love that so much. Oh, something else that you mentioned was books. So I'd love for you to share like maybe one or two of your favorite books. Or one or two of your favorite, like, do you listen to podcasts or like YouTube channels or like any other?
Let me back up and let me start with books, and that will probably explain the second part. So the book that I think changed my life is a book called Raise Your Vibration by Kyle Gray. He's Scottish, so if you're in audiobooks, his voice is really quite sexy. It takes me 4 hours to mow my lawn. We have a couple acres, so I have a riding mower. I listen to him every time I cut the grass, so that's what keeps my vibration up. I probably need to cut my grass soon because it's been a minute. But that book is absolutely life-changing because he talks about the connection of us all just having this vibration, right? And when we raise our vibration, that helps us to raise the vibration of the person next to us. And if we all can just start getting that vibration up, it can just change things miraculously. So I recommend that book. We do sell it, but you can also get it like in Audible or something like that. And like I said, sometimes we just give it away. Someone will walk in the door and I'm like, you need this book. So just go read that. So I'll follow that up with, then I listen to a lot of Kyle Gray. He's on YouTube. And again, he's really into meditation. His meditation uses a lot of like Sanskrit chants and that, which I find are really helpful to kind of just get you into that zone, and can be really powerful. And I'm careful when I'm out looking for someone who's going to help me with meditation or that on YouTube or whatever. You got to be careful who you're letting in your door, right? You just don't, if you're going to meditate and you're going to be quiet and let someone really get in your head at that level, you better know who they are, because you don't always know what's coming in. So Kyle Gray is usually one that just takes a big, he gets a lot of my time.
I love that. And I'm actually not familiar with Kyle Gray, so I'm looking forward to that. I think I saw the book downstairs, though. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
so,
it is.
Yeah, that's why I already got a little video of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the book. It's a great book.
Make sure. Yep, we're doing good. That's so cool. Kyle Gray. There was something else I thought while you were talking. Shucks. Oh, I thought of, and that didn't need to be included necessarily, but I thought of, you were talking about being raised Catholic. Are you still Catholic? Mm-hmm. Do you still?
I haven't found a community here that fits the kind of environment that I would like to find.
Yeah.
So, but I still consider myself Catholic.
Yeah, it just, that popped in my head while you were talking, and because I brought up seminary, and it was while I was in seminary that I read Practicing the Presence of God. Have you read that book?
Mm-mm.
It's by brother. Okay, let me actually do it for the podcast. Another book that I thought of whenever you were talking is Practicing the Presence of God by Brother Lawrence. It's a Catholic classic. But it struck me as so unique because I guess it wouldn't be considered meditation, as it was meditative, so I guess more mindfulness. But it's been a while since I read it, but essentially he was I think he was a monk, and he worked in a monastery, and he, like, while he was doing his duties, he would just be like washing dishes, practicing the presence of God. He'd be mopping the floors, practicing the presence of God. Like, and that years ago, before really I like started my like spiritual journey, my spiritual journey post deconstruction from fundamental evangelicalism, that was like, oh my goodness, this is so helpful, because I had so much guilt that I didn't spend a lot of time reading my Bible. I didn't spend a lot of time only praying because I had babies, and I was a young mom that was really stressed out with a very challenging marriage at the time, and we were in ministry. But I'm a pastor's wife, and I feel like I'm not connecting with God. So like that book, and I'm in seminary, but I still feel like I'm not connecting with God.
Right.
And because I was really taught you connect with God by reading the Bible, and you pray, right? But like that's it. And it just opened me up so much to being like, okay, like anything that I do can be worshipful, can be spiritual. Right. All of life can be spiritual. And that was such a blessing to me. And that really, for me, I feel like was that book for you. Right. Because it was like, I felt my vibration raising, just opening myself up to more of life being able to be a spiritual connection. And before at that time, it was still connecting outside of myself. Right. But that started it for me to be able to find it within. And so just, I just wanted to share that as well for people who are listening. That's maybe they're not ready. Right. But that can be a starting place. Sure. To help to get there. Man, thank you.
There's another book too, and it's hard. It's a hard read. It's called A Course in Miracles. So the Course in Miracles, to look at it, looks like the Bible. It's about the same size. It's printed on like the same type of paper. And there's like numbers by the words that kind of delineate, where you are in it. Almost looking like chapters and verses. Doesn't have as many, not really any beautiful stories like the Bible does, or Psalms or anything like that. But what's interesting about that book is it talks about Jesus in the book. And the reason it does that is it's meant to be a book of non-denomination. But they use Jesus in there as they're talking through the entire book, because Jesus is the one thing that everybody can align on as an ascended master and understands who he is and what he was about. So when any religion reads it, they know how to align whoever their particular focus is as their God into that role of that light of Jesus. So that's a really great book, but it's really hard to read. So there is a book called A Course in Miracles Made Easy. And that's the one to actually read before you read The Course in Miracles. But this all circles back to Kyle Gray, because this is a big foundation of who he is. So it really kind of gives you that same Christian speak. But it all brings it back to one thing, and that is the golden rule, right? To do unto others. And I think that, and the Bible brings it perfectly there. There's all these other things that are said and all of it, but in the end, it's all about do unto others as I would do. See, now I'm not going to even spit it out right. But so if that's the case, if we do nothing but love each other like we want to be loved, or treat each other like we want to be treated, there would never be a problem in the world, because no one would steal from or hurt from or say things to if you just went back to the golden rule. So you look at all of these different books and you say, but all of these ascended masters, all of these people, everybody comes back to the same thing: just love one another. Period.
I love that you brought up the Course in Miracles.
Yeah,
that was actually really hard because of the Christian language. Mm-hmm. It was really hard for me but I kept being drawn back to it. Mm-hmm. And that's also a perfect example of like, if it resonates, then great. Mm-hmm. If not, take a break, maybe come back. Because like I tried to dive in, I couldn't dive in because the language of atonement and like the very Christian language in it, it was like, I still had my definitions of, and it's really a non-dualistic text, but it reads like a text that I was taught was very dualistic. So I was like, this isn't computing. Right. But I came back to it, and I've studied it for several years, and it really just resonates so much with me. And it's so, so beautiful the way that it is written in the workbook. And actually even just recently tried reading the text, like just the straight text, and was like, I don't know, it's kind of late to try to get through this. It's dense. It's dense, but it's so beautiful. And now I'm even more interested in Kyle Gray.
Yes. So Kyle Gray, that's his foundation. But I'm telling you, really, if you want to really like step back, because I finally had to set it down, the Course in Miracles, and I just about gave up with it. And it's funny because they talk about in the Course in Miracles Made Easy, they actually talk about how many people throw the book away. How long did it take you to throw the book away? Because it's so hard.
Years before,
But this A Course in Miracles Made Easy is so fabulous that it brought me back to now I want to digest this. Now I want to read it again, because now that I hear this little summary of it, okay, now I can go back instead of trying to piece it together while I'm either bored or confused or whatever. Right. Now I got it. Let me go back and let me read it again. And
that's good. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to find that. I've seen it. I think it's on Audible too.
Probably. But I listen to it when I'm cutting the grass.
I've definitely seen it. I've not read it. My way in, well, there was first, I can't remember the first program that I was in, but it was, the people who made like the updated, like annotated version of it, they had a group, and I joined their group for a while, but it was when I joined, and it was very lovely. But it was just, I think too early in my journey. It was always a blessing, but I would just like drop off on it because it just was like, I just wasn't ready. And then I joined another group called Living the Course by Aaron Apke and Mark Anthony Lord. And that was just it got me through my last pregnancy, and it got me through some of those challenging seasons of my marriage. Like, just like, I would literally be like, I am done. And I'd be like, hold on, let me listen to a lesson from the course. Let me listen to a lesson from this group. And then about time that it was over, I was like, wow. Right. Like, now I can like take much more aligned action because I'm not judging him anymore. I don't need him to do anything for me. Like the teaching on special versus holy relationships. I was just like, what? No, I'm pretty sure I want a special relationship, but the way that you're describing it, that's absolutely not what I want to have. So like, I'm so confused. That was game changing. It's completely reshaped our partnership. It's completely reshaped our marriage. Like, it's good stuff. I love that you brought that up. Right.
Well, and it comes back to, then you can go back to everything means nothing.
Yes.
And I years ago, I did the Landmark Forum, and at the very end, they said, so, in summary, everything means nothing. And I was so angry. What? I sat here for 4 days for you to tell me everything means nothing? What? And so it took me years, I think, to get to the place of, when you have the mindset of everything means nothing, then you're not getting upset by the look you got from someone or the words that they said, that really it only means what you gave it when you received it.
I was listening to Mark Anthony Lord preach. So he preaches at a church, Unity Lakeshore. It's in Chicago. And I'm pretty sure that's the name of the church. I've listened to them off and on Sunday mornings for like years now, because I know his foundation. And he was literally talking about that, like that last time I was driving here, just like, we don't know what anything means. And that's like one of the earliest lessons in the course. It's like, and it's just like, it's like, for those of you who aren't familiar with the Course in Miracles, it's like deprogramming your mind from the conditioning of the culture.
Right.
And it's almost, it hurts your brain almost, because it's just like, it's just shifting and detaching you from your perceptions and introducing you to reality with a capital R. But I don't know how else to put that. And it's some people, I'm sure, will hear that and be like, that's crazy talk. Like, everything means nothing. But it's exactly what you just said. When you realize that you're giving everything the meaning that you think that it has. God did not create a meaningless world. That's what the Course says. God did not create a meaningless world. But you don't know the meaning of anything. You are putting your perceptions. And it's speaking. It's always speaking to like
podcast.
Oh my gosh, we do need to stop. I don't even know what time. Hopefully, my husband's getting my kids from school. It's a whole nother podcast, but yeah, it's good. But thank you for mentioning that as well. So that's 2, well, 3 if you count mine, but like 2 really banger books. Like, so if you're like wanting to explore the space, if something's like resonating with you, and these things are, if you're not familiar with these tools, these technologies, these books, these influential, just resources, then these are really definitely great places to begin a journey.
Thank you for listening to the Divine Desire podcast. I'm Krystal Arthur. This is where together we dive into the wellness, woo, and taboo in business and in ourselves to reclaim our power and heal our relationships with our pleasure, purpose, prosperity, and partners. You're invited to check out the next episode. Please leave a rating and review on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. Also, if you found anything helpful, inspiring, or curious, please share this podcast with a friend. If you want to invite me to be on your podcast, apply to be our next guest, or receive more teachings and tools from me, head over to KrystalArthur.com and join our free community and email list. Thank you so much for being here.